Excellent. So, I want to welcome everyone. I'm here for another author's view. I'm here with Gina Bright, the author of the Charon Club. And I have to say, Gina, I've been looking forward to this because I know you and I have had side conversations about your inspiration
Hmm.
for the Charon Club. I mean, I really think that um, folks, I mean, they need to hear from you. Right, because I mean, the passion about the topic and um, all the amazing work that you did behind the scenes for the Charing Club. I just think it the that viewers will really get a lot out of hearing the backstory behind the Charing Club.
I hope so. I hope so. Um, so I wrote. I felt compelled to write this
Mm,
novel because I was an AIDS nurse in New York City from 1987 to 1994. So I was taking care of AIDS patients, people with AIDS, at the worst time of the epidemic, at the pandemic. And it's a story. There have been some like kind of memoirs written about it, but I really wanted this story to reach a wider audience, and I
mm,
thought that writing a novel would be the best way to do that, and then I didn't have to be completely accurate in what I was depicting.
mm,
But I wanted to capture what what we experienced on the East Coast, in New York, Philadelphia, Florida, in particular, Atlanta, even
mm,
though I don't talk about Atlanta and Florida, but in the novel. And then I also wanted to capture the West Coast, but I had never even been to the West Coast before. And it
oh
turns I
wow.
have met some. Yeah, I know. That was until I did the research for this novel, and I went out to San Francisco because the first AIDS unit was at San Francisco General Hospital, Ward 5B. They opened in July of '83,
Mm,
and those nurses kept a diary for the years from like 1983 to 1991, and it's in
wow.
the archives at San Francisco Public Library. And they had a lot of other, like, just like their nursing meetings and minutes, and then the film crews were always out there also. Filming like what they were doing, what their patients were doing, because it was a radical concept back then to have a unit devoted to AIDS patients. Of course, that
Mm,
unit is where Elizabeth Taylor visited, and it's in that like kind of memoir, or I'm not sorry, that kind of diary that they kept, the nurses. A lot of the patients commented on when Elizabeth Taylor came to visit them and how much
mm,
that meant to them, because everybody was, of course, unfortunately dying back then. So at
mm,
that time, I met Allison Mohed, who was the first, pretty much one of the first nurses on that unit. So
mm,
we talked a lot, and really shared what was similar that we experienced and what was different. So that experience of going to the West Coast, to San Francisco, I wanted to create characters
mm,
from San Francisco and LA, because there
mm,
was a lot of AIDS in LA also. And that's why I chose the novel, because I didn't actually work in San Francisco or Los Angeles, but I really wanted to depict what we experienced on each coast.
got it. And I was going to ask, like, what inspired you? I mean, because you selected multiple points of view, which is
Mhm.
fabulous, right? I think that's really critical for people to get that broader sense of those broader perspectives. What was the inspiration for those perspectives? Because you could have picked anything, right? I mean, you could have made up, dozens and dozens of points of view. So clearly, there was something behind each point of view that you selected to that really kind of fed that broader view, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, that makes great sense. I think I have the form of the novel is the chronicle form.
Mhm,
I wanted it to be fast paced and to move between different points of view and different geographical locations. And so that's what inspired me to do. I couldn't imagine any other way to do that.
mm,
I needed to just bring together all of these different views, and my characters are very diverse. So I couldn't have just one kind of, I mean, I kind of do have an omniscient narrator because that keeps the whole thread together. But I couldn't really, I couldn't bring to life the nurses that I had worked with, and or imagined that I took parts of them and placed them into created my characters.
Mm.
I couldn't have done that without the different points of view. So I have 9 nurse characters, and 5 of them are, so that's a, and it's because AIDS nurses were pretty representative of this. There were a few men and then primarily women.
Mm.
5 of the nurses are from the East Coast, 4 are from the West Coast,
Mm.
and then I have 2 gay characters, 2 lesbian characters, a transgender character, and then some cisgender characters.
Mm.
And they're also, their ethnicities are diverse. Also, I have a Puerto Rican, Italian, pretty much Sophia Maria Lorenzo, who's my pretty much main character. I focus on her the most. I have another Italian American character, a few Black characters, an Irish character, and an Irish American character, and
Mm.
a Jewish character. She's a Sarah Weber is one of my major characters also. So, and they all have their own histories in terms of what they've experienced in terms of discrimination and oppression themselves, what brought
Mm.
them to take care of AIDS patients. Because once upon a time, I had a patient who was a Broadway dancer. I had a lot of Broadway dancers, but I was particularly close to him. And
Mm.
he said to me, we're all misfits here. Yeah,
Mm.
and so he included us with him, and I think that's really accurate.
Mm. Wow. Um, for the story itself, um, if you could have readers take anything away from it, what are the key things that you would want them to take away?
The primary thing, the primary takeaway that I would love for anyone who reads the novel, and for people who have read it, who are, friends, family, other people I've met who have read it, I think the primary thing people do take away, and that's what I wanted, is what we did. People really didn't have any idea what AIDS nurses did before the
Mm.
era of highly active retroviral therapy. That the meds that keep everybody alive and well now.
Mhm.
And I really wanted people to understand that we were doing more than just caring for a population that no one else even wanted to touch back then,
Mm.
because AIDS, as we know, was created as this horrible plague. In my first book, I talk about why it was created like that, because I don't think it was a plague. I think it was a horrible infectious disease that was made by the media and
Mm.
the public, especially in America, to be a lot more contagious and horrible than what it was. And
Mm.
of course, people were made to feel like they deserved it because they contracted this virus through different means. Um, but I really wanted people to see, people who read this. I really want them to understand that it was horrible for the patients, and it was they didn't have anybody who really did not judge them in terms of who they were, and that's it, who they were.
Mhm.
A lot of our patients had no family members ever visit, nor
Mm.
friends. So
Mm.
we were there for them. And then I really wanted people to understand. So that's it. I wanted people to understand that medical neglect that patients had, also from the medical teams, because
Mm.
most nurses and doctors did not even want to touch or go into the room of an AIDS patient, which is
Mm.
not too dissimilar from how COVID was in the beginning too. But and then I really wanted the readers, to understand what we did, which is the heart of the name of the title for the novel, the Charon Club. We Nobody lived back then, so we helped make sure that people made it to the other side of this life, whatever that is,
Mm.
in comfort and with caring.
Got it. Um, and so for those who are watching, so the Karen Club will be available through the Rise imprint of Running Wild on September 5th, 20, well, it was available September 5th, 2023. Um, Audiobook, ebook, paperback. Uh, go check it out. It's an absolutely fabulous, fabulous work. And I want to thank Gina for sharing it with all of us. Um, and with that, I don't know if there's anything that you want to leave folks with, any final thoughts or
I think one of the other
commentary.
reasons, one of the other major reasons that I wrote the novel is so that this, never happens again. So that
Mm,
people are, treated, people who are sick are treated with dignity and respect, and should not be judged for their illnesses.
thank you. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so so much. And with that, again, go pick up the Charon Club. It again, it's absolutely wonderful. And thank you again, Gina, for sharing your experiences with the broader world.
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing my story with the broader world.